All right, everyone, you may have noticed that Russian election interference is still very much a hot, button issue for the Democratic Party, mainly because they're seeking to justify preemptively their loss in 2020, which I think they fear is going to happen, as they watch Joe Biden slip away because of the Lucy Flores shit, and as they realize that their frontrunner is an elderly socialist and their runner-up frontrunner is a triple minority, which really is not good for all of the working class Democrats who don't vote based on, race or gender or anything. As they realize that their two technically viable front-running candidates are both non-viable and can't win in a general election because of the demographics of the U.S. being what they are. They're trying to excuse that preemptively by saying, well, Trump did not collude with the Russians. Maybe so. Maybe, kind of, sort of. They're, in softball it anyway. But the Russians still tried to hack the election, yeah. Now, there's no actual evidence of any significant attempt to do that. Look, the Russians, in every single election, every single fucking day, try to hack shit in the United States. We do the same to them. China's the biggest, abuser when it comes to hacking things, whether it's the U.S., Russia, or anywhere else in the world. They hack everything that they can. The fact is, though, that there was never any danger that it would swing the election. There was never any danger that it would steal the election. You still see these titles, we need more safeguards to prevent an election from being stolen. How are the Russians going to steal an election? By buying more Facebook ads? Even Nate Silver, who is absolutely a Clintonian Democrat, probably fucking hates Trump because he made all of his predictions wrong in 2016 and lambastes people like him who are so-called journalists who don't do real investigation. Even Nate Silver came out and said, look, if there was interference at all, it didn't affect the election because it would be too minuscule. You're talking about a few $100,000 in Facebook ads. That didn't change any minds. And also, in some cases, it was pro-Bernie Sanders material. It was meant to, ironically, I think some of it is literally nothing more than trolling. People who are sowing discord because they find it funny. They find it amusing to see, a thread on 4chan or some shit where people are arguing over politics. They find it funny. They find it amusing because it is fucking funny and amusing. That doesn't mean that they're Russian hackers. It means that a group of people got together with a funny troll maneuver in mind because they thought it would cause a little bit of chaos. They said that those ads were targeted towards Wisconsin. Okay, you're telling me you think that you can swing tens of thousands of votes with a few $100,000 in a major election like that? Do you honestly think that I'm going to take that claim seriously? There's no evidence to suggest that ever happened, because it didn't happen and it never will. The Russians do not have the money or the manpower or the expertise necessary to hack a U.S. election. They don't have the capability to steal a U.S. election. There aren't enough electoral votes in the close states to cause that to happen. If you have a real squeaker where it comes down to an electoral virtual dead heat and Florida's going to be within 10,000 votes or something, okay, then maybe you could make that case. But the thing is, until the last month or so of an election, you're not going to be really sure which states necessarily are the truly competitive ones. Everyone thought Ohio was going to be like the bellwether of the last election. Oh my God, Ohio might turn blue. Trump is behind in all these states. Maybe Arizona will be maybe Texas will be the bellwether. And it turned out, no, it was like Michigan and stuff. States that were actually on the other side that had been counted as safely blue by most analysts. There's no room for Russian election interference to actually interfere with an election. That's the whole point. Any interference that happens is not going to affect the outcome. It's not going to be substantial enough. You would need hundreds of millions of dollars in investment and enormous amounts of manpower to flip maybe one close state. You'd need an inordinate amount of force to do that. Well, if Russia is interfering at all, it's actually a propaganda campaign to convince people in the United States that our elections aren't secure, so that we'll bite the hand that feeds us, so to speak, and question everyone that's in office, and things will just slowly rot from within. That's another possibility that I don't think enough people bother to consider. But yeah, it's a lie. It's a lie that the Russians are going to influence the election. They'll try. They're going to hack things. They're going to do what they always do. They're going to spread misinfo. They're going to create non-organic memes. They've been doing that forever anyway, though. Nobody ever complained about it before Donald Trump managed to win the election, and it was mysterious to a bunch of people, and so the DNC, to hide its ass, to cover its ass, the DNC and Clinton camp, which was falling apart at the point, decided to blame Russia. They decided very, very early on, we'll just blame the Russians. People will use that as an excuse. It'll fit in with this deep state sort of maneuver with the Mueller probe that's designed to obstruct populism for the next couple of years. Yeah, I think that there is a little bit of a seedy goings-ons behind closed doors with regards to that. And I don't think that that's it. People say, well, it's a conspiracy. Well, it's a conspiracy to suggest that the Russians have the power to flip a U.S. election, or that they did on behalf of Trump. There's no evidence. And that's funny. Even the deep state itself, the FBI found no evidence that that had happened. Any election interference that occurred was meaningless. It didn't do anything. So people are still talking about it now. And it's largely the MSM. The MSM knows that it's a titillating story, number one, and it helps to cover the ass of the Democrats and the never-Trumpers that they like, number two. There's no reason for them not to keep haranguing about it. And I don't expect them to stop. I just expect eventually people are going to realize it's not that titillating, it's boring, it's not real, and it's just a bunch of tabloid bullshit. That's about all. Peace out.